project inside out of the U-2 came off on and country. Opinion 7-2 check. Our opinion 7-2 is 9 DME final. Opinion 7-2, no power. Report. GM's traffic follow the U-2 base.
Opinion 7-2, report 5 mile final, follow U-2 approaching a left extended base.
7-2.
True statement. My instructor in pilot training at Willie in T-38s, who later became a U-2 pilot, he allowed us how the F-104 was the last truly beautiful airplane ever designed.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah. But it was, you're right, it was quirky too. It had all sorts of little idiosyncrasies.
Well, the Luftwaffe had nothing but one disaster after another with it, right?
True. True. Well, and to be fair, their disasters with the F-104 and the Luftwaffe were about 60% maintenance and 40% pilot.
Wow.
Yeah, it took the Air National
Because we
Guard.
didn't have that kind of trouble with it, did we?
Yeah, the regular Air Force did. The Guard taught the regular Air Force how to fly the 104.
Really?
I think it was the Colorado Guard that flew them, and finally just figured that you just had to keep them at 300 knots or more, and they were happy. They had all kinds of quirks, though. A couple of them disintegrated in flight, and they couldn't figure out why, and later found out that at the mid-40s, at Mach 2, which is its envelope, the pilot would load up the airplane, and it would, the gear handle, the creature of the early 50s, was so big and clunky that the G-loading would cause the gear handle to come down, and the gear started to come out, and the airplane...
Oh, there was so much mass in the handle itself by virtue of how big it was.
Yep. So we still have that handle.
It's got a little latch on it.
It's got a little latch now that latches it up. So a couple of G's won't pull it down.
And you have the same one in the U-2?
Yeah, we'll show it to you later. Take you down to our training devices.
Wow.
And,
at the top of the handle, there's a little
tiny
tab
that you got to
push on it, and it unlatches it so that you can lower the gear handle down. Otherwise, if you try to lower it, nothing happens.
We still in the U-2 measure our fuel in gallons.
Really?
Because that was what the F-104 and the T-33 used. They used the same fuel counter with a little count-off digits. You know, you dialed the fuel load in, and it would count off in every 2-gallon increments as you used the fuel. And to save money, he said, "I'll just stick that in the U-2 because no difference." And we still measure in gallons. We're the only jet I know of that measures its fuel in gallons.
I guess I'm thinking back to my T-Bird days, and I think that was pounds, wasn't it? Or was it gallons?
I sat in T-Bird, but the old T-Bird guy said, yeah, it's the same fuel counter from the T-Bird.
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, the T-33, the F-80 was
It was the one-chair version of the T-Bird.
Was it what?
It's Kelly Johnson.
Oh yeah.
So he
Out of the
just kept
Skunk
using
Works.
all the same.
As much of the parts as possible.
The T-33 was nicer looking than its predecessor, the F-80, for sure.
Yeah.
And was equally as fast. It was a pretty well, Lockheed made good-looking airplanes.
Yeah. All the guys that flew the U-2 before us, that flew the T-Bird as its companion trainer, they all loved the T-Bird. You know, and they come from faster jets, but the T-Bird was although it had its quirks, because the nose wheel wouldn't steer, and you could get it crooked, and you couldn't straighten it out. You had to shut down and push the airplane back to realign the nose wheel, or get a tug and
In the early days with the T-Bird, when I was class of 55G. That's a way back. But anyway, one of our problems was what we call the hot start. Mm-hmm. If you didn't sequence the procedure right, goodbye for the engine. You had to throw another one in.
Yep.
And we decided to name our class book the Hot Start. So, after that. Uh-huh. And then we had another thing transitioning when I was in 2, and we had a green headrest or a red headrest. The new one was the red, so you could blow yourself through the canopy. With the green one, you had to get rid of the canopy before you ejected. Mm-hmm. And that saved a few lives, actually.
Yeah.
Even when I was there, the hot seat. Mm-hmm. So you could save a few seconds down near the deck and
well, the original U-2 did not have an ejection seat.
That's what I recall reading somewhere. Yeah. And is it really true that when Powers was shot down, it wasn't a direct hit, it was a shock wave?
Well, he got fragged, basically.
It was fragmentation.
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
But it took, if I recall correctly, it took, I think, 10 SA-2s to actually get him. So it wasn't like
it wasn't just one shot.
No, they shot up everything they had.
Yeah. Well, it was one shot, but it took 10 of them.
They launched
to
10
finally get to him.
And the beauty from the Soviet standpoint of the SA-2 it was and still is a huge missile by SAM standards.
Oh.
So that
it had to go pretty high.
Yeah, it had a lot of propellant to get up high, and the warhead was big enough that the proximity was not near as critical.
Just the shock wave alone.
Yeah, there was all kinds of stuff. The 2, and a lot of U-2s have been shot down by SA-2s. Mostly Chinese.
Oh.
But the 2 Americans, one of them hit so close that it actually perforated his suit. That was Rudy Anderson over Cuba in '63.
Over Cuba?
Yeah.
Cuba.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, most people did. 63. The missile crisis. We were around.
Yeah.
Remember the missile crisis of October
Sure. Oh,
63?
yeah.